Good morning.
Morning.
So Ann and I put together the Supply Chain Transportation Logistics Master's Program. We started around 2010, I believe. And it was in response to a couple of trends we saw that we thought were ultimately going to kind of reshape the industry. The first was the increasing complexity of transportation systems that companies have to manage, in part due to sort of globalization. The second was a shortage of skilled professionals who understood these issues and who could come in and manage them and resolve them. And the third was the lack of graduate level education in the Northwest, specifically addressing this issue. So we designed a program that not only had a lot of the business features you might find in a supply chain master's offered out of the business school, but also some of the features in terms of the rigors of engineering that are applied to things like network modeling, things like that. So in any event, our first task was to decide, well, first there was a lot of bureaucracy to go through, but once we got through that, our first task was to decide what sort of delivery method should we use for this program. And obviously there's the in-class delivery model where you all come here every 2 days and we teach you. And then there's sort of a hybrid model, and then there's the purely online model. And so the students we were aiming at are sort of mid-level managers involved in supply chain, transportation, and these people are super busy, right? Most of them are married, they have children, they have demanding jobs that have them on a plane to China all the time. And so we figured an online program might be a really good fit, right? People can be at home or they can be at work and they can do the work. So if you're familiar with online education, it means a lot of different things. People say the program is online, right? And at a lot of universities, what online means is you sit in your house, you work whenever you want, there's some PowerPoints, you do some reading, you write a paper, you email your instructor. And we thought about that and said, well, that doesn't sound like the best model, right? Because especially at the graduate level, the students can learn an awful lot from each other because they have actual experience. So we said, well, can we do something that's different than that? And Barb, is this thing pulled up or do I need to pop it up?
The answer is, I don't know, Bill.
Well, let's find out.
Thank you, Paulina. Yeah, Paulina knows.
Yeah, I think it's going there, thanks. Thank you. So what we decided to do was develop something that's actually pretty innovative. We decided to do live 2-hour sessions where students meet just like a real classroom, except they do it over the internet. And we think in a lot of ways this offers the best of both worlds, right? So students can get together, they ask questions of the professor, we can talk about a presentation, a particular issue, an exercise, they can work together in groups, and we think it's really sort of, kind of a best of breed approach to delivering this sort of education. So the online component was one piece. But what we tried to do, and it sounds like a contradiction in terms, but we said we want to make an online program that's high touch. Those two things sound like they don't go together, right? But what we decided to do, we have a number of elements that are designed to sort of build a community with students. So the first thing we do is we have a residency here right at the beginning of the program where all the students come to UW, and there's some course content they go through, but the main point of it is for the students to build relationships with the faculty and also build relationships with one another, right? So when they go off and they're separated by hundreds or thousands of miles and they need to work together, at least you had a beer with the person, you had dinner, you know they have 2 kids, something like that, and that makes a big difference. We also offer a lot of opportunities for the students to build their networks and advance their careers. One example is we have a mentorship program where we pair up students who are in the program with experienced executives in some particular discipline that the student is interested in, and this person provides insights, maybe introductions, that sort of thing. So, we have a big network of alumni who talk to one another, and, I think that's pretty valuable from a high-touch model. The other thing we do is we know our students really well, which I think is weird in an online program. I think those things generally don't go together that well because you don't see them that much. But we know when our students have a baby, when somebody changes jobs, when somebody gets married. I had one student one time who came to me and she was kind of sheepishly worried. She said, I don't know if I can make your class next week, And I'm like, why not? She said, I'm going to be in a place with probably bad connectivity. I'm like, oh, where are you going to be? She said, Tahiti. I'm like, Tahiti, that's pretty nice. I'm like, what are you doing there? She said, I'm on my honeymoon. I said, if you're on your honeymoon, you got other things to worry about besides coming to my IT systems class. But in any event, I think that's a pretty important component of what we do for our students. So in the SCTL program, we're super excited about this center idea. We think the master's program is a critical part of the center, and we look forward to continuing to turn out people who are capable transportation professionals who can move into executive roles, and people who can contribute to sort of the state of practice within this field that we're all engaged in. So with that, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce one of our esteemed alumni, Lauren Seeks. Lauren and I have known each other for quite a while before he even joined the program. Lauren has a super interesting career background that I'll let him talk about a little bit. He was in logistics in the military, made a successful transition to the private sector, which is not easy, into Starbucks, and then more recently took a position with a startup, providing kind of a new business model for looking at transportation. And I recall having a phone call with him when he was considering doing this. And so we're talking. He said, I got this opportunity, but I don't know. I'm at Starbucks. And so I asked him some questions. What's the business model? How well is it funded? Who's the leadership team? Everything looked pretty solid. I said, well, Lauren, this sounds like a good idea. But, I knew also that Lauren had just had a baby. And I said, Lauren, how does your wife feel about this? I'm a little more risky than Starbucks. And he said something like, well, she's cautiously optimistic that this will work out. And I think so far, Lauren's pretty happy, and I think it has worked out. I think the only disadvantage now is if you want to get a hold of him on the telephone, you have to call him at 9:30 at night because he's essentially always working. So, Lauren, why don't you come up and make a couple observations?
Thanks, Bill.
Sure.